Good afternoon. Can I have you state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, my name is Scott Skokos. My last name is spelled Skokos. And for the record, I'm the Executive Director at Dakota Resource Council, and our business address is 1720 Burnt Boat Drive, Suite 102, Bismarck, North Dakota 58503.
And were you in the room earlier when I went through the penalties for perjury?
Yes.
And do you understand what perjury is?
Yes.
Being advised of the potential penalties for perjury, do you promise to tell the truth in this case today?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. As I stated earlier, my name is Scott Skokos. I'm the Executive Director of Dakota Resource Council. We're a statewide conservation and family farm organization that's been around since 1978. We were founded in 1978 by farmers and ranchers who were concerned about rapid energy development infringing upon private property rights and their rural way of life. Today we find ourselves in the same position of having to defend private property rights of generational farmers and ranchers. Only this time our efforts are in response to the proposed Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline. I'm going to kind of go through some of the Century Code that you guys are, as a commission, are tasked with adhering to and making your final decision. So within Century Code in Chapter 4922.1, this is an area that outlines several areas of criteria that guide the commission's decision-making process. While there is not enough time to go through all the areas of the Act, my testimony will highlight considerations that Dakota Resource Council believes are crucial in order to properly evaluate this project. So number one, available research and investigations relating to the effects of the location, construction, and operation of the proposed facility on public health, welfare, natural resources, and environment. Today and at previous hearings, substantial testimony has been given as to the potential adverse impacts on public health and the welfare of North Dakota citizens if the proposed project is approved. We have heard testimony that property owners' insurance would not cover the CO2 pipeline's rupture. We have heard testimony that the project would negatively affect property values. We have heard testimony surrounding CO2 pipeline regulatory gaps, ongoing rulemaking with PHMSA, and we have heard testimony surrounding negative impacts to crop yields and drain tiling. These concerns are legitimate and numerous and of a serious nature in our view. Number 7 in that code is the direct and indirect economic impacts of the proposed facility. Like any project, the Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline would lead to some economic benefits, namely an increase in tax revenue, temporary construction jobs, and a small handful of permanent positions. However, we feel that it is prudent for the Commission to also consider the economic impacts beyond jobs and tax revenue. During the Wahpeton hearing, we heard testimony that included picture documentation of crop loss persisting decades after pipeline installation. Given that this is a 320-mile pipeline crossing hundreds of agricultural properties in North Dakota, in totality, this adverse impact could be substantial. The project also have negative economic impacts on rural communities' growth and expansion, as we mentioned earlier, even within urban communities. Given that there are 5,000 miles of CO2 pipelines within the United States, the effect of such projects on a community's desirability is currently unknown. A lot of attention to this issue has been brought as it relates to Bismarck, as you guys have been talking about today, and mainly North Bismarck. But quality of life concerns and future economic growth concerns in our rural communities must also be paramount. The proposed facility has also resulted in dozens, if not hundreds, of landowners across North Dakota being forced to retain attorneys to review easement terms and compensation, not to mention the dozens of lawsuits that have been filed to compel access to private property rights or private property for survey access. These legal fees come at the expense of North Dakota citizens. While not directly in the purview of this commission, these are real negative economic impacts. The only people who benefit from that are their lawyers. And that they have to pay for that due to this proposed project. Number 11 within that code, problems raised by federal agencies, other state agencies, and local entities. The problems raised by state and local entities have been numerous. We appreciate the Commission's diligence in ensuring that landslides identified by the North Dakota Geological Survey are thoroughly examined and that the SHPO survey is completed. These are key areas that should not be overlooked by Summit. Should only be held to the highest standards. The concerns raised by local entities have been substantial. Sargent, Ritchie, Dickey, Emmons, McIntosh, and Burleigh County have all passed resolutions unanimously opposing eminent domain specific to this project. While this is not an area the Commission has direct jurisdiction over, these resolutions are a clear reflection of local entities' sentiments around this project and the concerns of the people that live in those communities. Dickey County wrote a letter to this Commission outlining a plethora of concerns that they had with the project. A principal reason for the letter was Dickey County does not feel that it can address some of the concerns raised and that the Commission is better served to do that. The Commission should closely examine the Dickey County letter and identify key areas where they can address local concerns, namely by requiring Summit to abide by the setbacks requested in the letter and by denying Summit's request for the waiver of procedures and time schedules. Burleigh County has also raised numerous concerns. We don't necessarily have to get into all of those today, but just for example, we've had, within Burleigh County, we've had the Burleigh County Commission pass a ordinance, a public health statement, and other things, as well as the Bismarck School Board and the Bismarck City Commission doing the same. The second biggest city and county in North Dakota had not had a local zoning ordinance for pipelines until this project was proposed, and an explicit reflection that the community has serious concerns about the proposed pipeline. Emmons County also passed a zoning ordinance related to the pipeline setbacks. Before the proposed Summit Carbon Solutions pipeline, the county had a setback of 200 feet, not even within the state compliance, and this setback likely had not been updated in several decades, if not longer. Again, a county in North Dakota felt compelled to pass a zoning ordinance that had not been amended in decades, if ever, due to the severity of the community concerns surrounding this project. The concerns of counties and local political subdivisions must be paramount, and you must consider those. These are the units of government closest to our citizens and the communities.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm going to object. I mean, we're looking for new testimony. What we're getting here is a recap of what was previously presented to the Commission. The Commission understands the rules and regulations under which it must operate under. They understand the various ordinances that have been passed. I don't think we need this kind of testimony. For that reason, I would object.
Sir, it sounds like you listened to or were at the other hearings, and I guess if you have anything new, I mean, I agree. It sounds like a lot of the stuff you've been mentioning.
I mean, I'm almost concluding. I mean, I'm just expressing the totality of all these hearings right now. I don't understand why that's something
exactly. You're repeating what has been presented to this Commission previously.
We just have a limited amount of time, and I'm just asking people not to repeat.
I'll bring up new testimony. If you want to object to my testimony, you have every right to do that. Okay, so I'll move on past the ordinances, okay? I will go to other concerns that we have with this project. Well, one being PHMSA is in a active time period right now where they're looking into active rules. We would urge the Commission not to make a decision until those rules are completed. That's one thing that we would request for the Public Service Commission. The other thing is to look into the investors. This company has given you 5 investors. We've looked into that, and others have looked into that. There's possibly an active investigation by our Attorney General's office on who the investors in Summit are. So we'd like you guys to strongly consider that and consider the implications of those potential investors, some of them potentially being foreign companies that may or may not be adversaries to the United States. I will conclude my testimony there because I don't want to waste any more of your time, as you've just mentioned. All
right, thank you. Mr. Bender, do you have any questions?
I don't want to waste any more time either. I don't have any questions.
Mr. Pelham?
Thanks for being here. I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you.
Mr. Jordy?
Sir, is the comment by Mr. Bender pretty consistent with the attitude that Summit has expressed to members of your group?
Correct. I'd say, yeah, generally.
Yeah, and just arrogant, rude, bullying.
I mean, it's just the tactics they've been using the entire time, suing our members to survey land, trying to suppress testimony and emotion before this hearing, etc. I mean, you could go down the line of the litany of things that they've done that, what I would say, Mr. Jordy, is that they've put out the playbook on how not to get a pipeline permitted or how to do it the wrong way to make the citizens not like them.
Have you heard previously that where Mr. Powell testified that they talk to landowners and hear their concerns and happy to make changes, yet not a single person has come up here to corroborate that? Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that. I'm also aware of the 185 years that Bismarck's going to move to 4 miles north. It's one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in my life.
Do you think credibility and fitness of the applicant is something this commission should consider?
Yes. And the documents that they produced, the southern route was, I think an 8th grader could have wrote that.
Are you aware that they initially in this process did have a southern route, but then decided to move to the
Yes,
northern?
I'm aware of some of our members and folks that I've been working with that were approached around that potential southern route. I thought we were actually going to see that southern route in their filing that they had with this entity, and all we saw was a book report, essentially.
So when we know they already had a southern route they were analyzing, what is your thought on their claim that it would take 2 years for them to reanalyze a route they've already looked at?
I don't think that would take 2 years. I mean, frankly, I'm very close to this project in a sense. I have friends who have property that was in North Bismarck, family farm and ranch, and I actually saw the survey documents really early on. And they were using GIS maps from like 1977, where Bismarck hadn't even grown to where it is today. They made it look like they were developing this in like rural ag land that didn't exist, but it's right next to abutting residential land.
Are you aware of the motion filed by Summit, I think yesterday, where it's asking this commission to declare the Burleigh County ordinances that they're superseded and basically to declare them invalid and to just not even follow them?
Yes.
What does your membership think about that?
We think it's essentially the only kind way to put it is arrogant, and it's an insult to the citizens of Bismarck and Burleigh County.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Paranis, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bakke, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Chrisman?
None.
Commissioner Haugen-Hoffert?
No, but thank you so much for your testimony.
Mr. Dawson?
No questions.
All right, thank you.